Good day, family, and welcome to another episode of Soulful Conversation. I'm your host, Lord Khalif Shakil, and today we're going to talk about the relationships between minority community and law enforcement. And we're going to do it through the talents of Mr. Harry Houdini. Now, for those of you who don't know, Harry Houdini was a magician in the early 1900s who did all kind of unbelievable escape artist tricks to just fascinate the minds of the American people. I remember watching the movie on Harry Houdini, played by Tony Curtis, and it was just amazing, what Harry Houdini had accomplished in his life. Now, why do I bring up Harry Houdini in relationship to law enforcement and the minority community? Well, I'm going to tell you why. There are three young men that I think should go down in history as cautionary tales when we deal with the boys in blue. And that is Mr. Chavis Carter from Arkansas, Brother Jesus Huerta from North Carolina, and Brother Victor White III from Louisiana. Now, why am I naming these three? They were all three young teenage boys out in the evening night. All three of them were arrested in their state by law enforcement. In 2012, Chavis Carter Jr. was arrested by law enforcement in Arkansas. He was handcuffed, frisked twice by the police, and put into the police cruiser with the handcuffs behind his back. Moments later, according to police, Chavis Carter somehow, with the gifts of Harry Houdini, pulls out a weapon, raises his handcuffed hands over his head, and blows his own brains out. Then putting the gun down and his hands, of course, back behind his back. 1 year later, in 2013, Jesus Huerta is arrested by the Durham police in North Carolina. He, too, is handcuffed and frisked a couple times by the arresting officers. And according to police, right out in front of the police station, Jesus Huerta takes a gun with gloves on. That way there's going to be no residue powder on his hands, because he don't want to convict himself of killing himself, with his hands handcuffed behind his back like Harry Houdini shoots himself to death, committing suicide. Of course, the only witness to this is the arresting officer. And then in 2014, a young brother, Victor White III, whose father I had the pleasure of speaking to a couple years ago, was arrested, placed in the back seat of a car, and somehow, with his hands cuffed behind his back, shoots a bullet through his chest, killing himself. Once again, it was pronounced suicide. Now, in the end, Victor White III, the Louisiana settled with the family for a $325,000 wrongful death. I have not been able to ascertain if any cops went to jail. But what I'm saying here is this. One of the greatest escape artists in the world was Harry Houdini, who had trained for years to be able to get escape out of jackets and handcuffs and jails. Harry Houdini could not have handcuffed himself, put himself in the back of a police cruiser, taken a gun out of his pants after being patted down twice, and blowed his own damn brains out. I say these things because, one, I feel bad for the families of Carter, Huerta, and White. They did not deserve this, and losing these three men in this way gives us, as my friend who told me about these cases called them the Houdini 3. Young boys, I guess, blessed with a gift that none of us have. Or maybe, just maybe, law enforcement participated, the coroners helped cover it up, and the state refused to prosecute in any case. My condolences to the families of Chavis Carter, Jesus Huerta, and Victor White III. And may this video prompt others to get behind these families to keep fighting for the justice of their young brothers and loved ones. Once again, this is Khalif Shakil talking to you on Soulful Conversations, hoping that you learned something about this. Look into the deaths of these 3 men and lend your support to the families. Thank you. And Grand Rising, family. Grand Rising.